Hi, everyone. Welcome to Genealogy Adventures. I'm Brian Sheffy.
And I'm Donya Williams. November has been life, and it's been November, and hasn't it, y'all? I don't know about y'all, but Jesus.
Yes, indeed,
How are you doing?
it has been lightning. Thank you, everyone, for spending the next hour for us. And yeah, little confession time. We're having a show about confessions. Donnie and I were so busy gassing in the green room, we lost track of time.
We did. We was like, oh goodness, it's this time.
We really should have a
Oh my God.
kind of behind the scenes kind of camera setup because we have some fire conversations before we go live.
We do sometimes. But we can't do those because they're more like Reese Colbert conversations, and you won't let me
Yes.
be.
I won't even let myself be that way. But yes, we can be very raw and uncut. And I know some of you find that difficult to believe about me, but my cousin's like my sister. She knows me.
Y'all be thinking I'm joking. He will fire it up on you in a second, in a hot second. Don't sleep on him.
That edge-filled
Don't
cloth.
sleep on him.
That edge-filled cloth. That's all I have to say. But I hope, well, we
That's
both
that.
hope that we know we have a great show for you today. It's one that we really hope you're going to participate in with too. So I'm going to explain about a little bit about why the show is going to be a little bit different. So first, welcome back
But
to
before you say that, Brian, I want you guys to start putting your questions in now so we can be prepared.
yes,
That part.
yes.
Yeah, start doing that.
And for those of you who are still not quite read in, so as always, welcome back to another episode of Genealogy Adventures. It's always such a pleasure to spend this hour with you. And as I said, we're doing something a little different today. So we're not doing like heavy research. We're not talking about Black history or the current life that we're all
Political
living.
status.
Instead, or deep dives into ancient records and all that. It's really a show about real talk.
Yeah, it is. And Brian, I do not have that thing in front of me.
Well,
So I definitely need.
I'm going to speak on your behalf because real talk is real talk.
It
'Cause
is.
we're going to be honest and transparent. We hope you guys are going to be honest and transparent. This is an Ask Us Anything show episode today. It's kind of think of it as a genealogy confessions kind of mashup. So if you've been dying to ask us a research related question or how you can spot mistakes in your tree, um, or even if may think that you may have made a wild mistake in your family tree, today is your day. You can ask us our advice, how to move forward, ask our questions, ask us if we've experienced something similar and how we dealt with it. So I am going to get started with a confession of my own. One of the first major mistakes that I ever made, I must have been researching Edgeville, South Carolina. I must have been new, I was still new to research. 5 years in, maybe six at a push. Wrapping my head around Edgeville County, South Carolina, found out that there was a man that I needed to add to my tree called Francis Settles. He was an enslaver. His family had come from Virginia into Edgeville County, South Carolina, involved with a woman called Rebecca Bugg, helping her purchase the freedom of the father of her children. Come to find out that I actually had Settles DNA. So there was a very, within the Suttles family, there was a very famous lineage book. Unsurprisingly, I can't think of all the words, but it's the Suttles lineage book. If you know, you know. I made
Hmm.
the mistake of assuming that European descended people who had been doing genealogy for far longer than I had, and probably far longer than African descended people in this country have been doing, I never questioned it. I never questioned anything that was in that book. I thought I had struck gold dust, and before you knew it, bang, I was back in Yorkshire, England, I think 1500s, maybe late 1400s. And then a mutual cousin to both Donnie and myself, Hamad, dropped the bombshell. He's like, I'm not
Because
saying
it was
it was
trash.
all wrong, but there's a lot of errors in that book, and it's understandable. You want to talk about repeating names? The name Francis settles. Just that one name. If there was one of them in a generation, there were at least 6 or 7 because everyone was calling him.
Not to mention the fact that they kept mistaking whether or not it was a male or a female, because they say a female is
Yes.
spelled Frances, whereas
Mhm.
the male is Francis. Well, we were finding them spelled both ways, male and female. So it was just literally all over the place.
That was the. And once I actually started going through the paper route, I had to delete the whole settles line, going all the way back to 1400, 15. That was just the way that I decided to deal with it because there were so many errors. I just sat there on a Saturday afternoon and I deleted the whole thing and then just started
Mhm.
from scratch for that line. But that taught me a lesson: never to make that kind of an assumption ever, ever again.
And at Kelly 1952, yes, anything. We're out here for it. We're here today for that. So if you have something that you need to do, let us know. You want to talk about, let us know in the comments.
Mhm. Oh, see,
Well,
here we go. There's Sharon. My confession.
yeah, they're sharing. I got them. I'm starring them right now. I'm starring them right now. So I won't even put them up yet until we're ready for them.
Yeah.
So, but my confession, I think, is learning about Preston Brooks and who he was.
Mhm.
That's one of my confessions. It wasn't necessarily a mistake, it was more so of a shocker. And I guess it was a shocker because I've come to the realization that the Gen X generation is the last generation to get all of the history before they started removing and scraping and scrapping it all out, or getting a huge chunk of the history. So Preston Brooks was in my history books. I used to see that picture of him standing over Charles Sumner all the time. They never said his name though. His name was never mentioned. So I never, they really harped and focused on Charles Sumner and Charles Sumner only. So with that being said, me doing my research and then all of a sudden finding out that my great great grandmother was enslaved by him, it was a shocker. But when I started finding my DNA that was going back to him, I had closed the book for a little while. It's like, I know you lying. This is crazy. So that's one of my confessions. I wasn't able to accept that really well.
Mhm. Edgefield also gave me the first ancestor that I actively did. I'm going to be polite. I didn't like them. If I had the power to CRISPR their DNA out of me, I would CRISPR all of it. And that's James Henry
James
Hammond.
Henry Henry. Uh-huh.
Man,
Yeah,
what the universe had to give me that predator as an
yeah. Because
ancestor.
he was bad.
He was bad. He was a bad
He
one.
was he was
Because
bad. We still haven't done his research because we're not ready yet.
yeah, uh,
Yeah.
I may have to go to a Buddhist Buddhist monastery for like 2 weeks to get my soul right. I'm not kidding. He makes my skin crawl. He's that bad. He was that bad of a human being. As I said, I resent that I carry his DNA, and it's not just his
Yeah.
black descendants who feel that way. All of it, most of his descendants feel that way.
Yeah. That's how you know he's that bad, because everybody feels that way.
Mhm.
All of it.
So, for those of you who have ever asked me, "Oh, is there an ancestor that you don't like, not proud of, wish you weren't related to?" Yeah, you have one. That's
Mhm.
for me.
Yeah.
DNA also exposes a lot of falsehoods. So I don't feel
Mhm.
bad about this one. And this is my maternal great grandfather, Patrick Turner. Lovely man, lovely human being. Would be proud to have him as my maternal grandfather's father. DNA said otherwise. DNA's like, sorry, it's not Patrick Turner, not the father of any of your great grandmother's children. It was a man a Jewish rabbi by the name of Cohn in Northwest DC. She was his housekeeper. They had kids together. Um,
Mm.
and actually, it wasn't until after I got the marriage certificate to Patrick Turner from my great grandmother, I'm like, oh yeah, they got married right after her youngest was born. So there was no way he could have been the father of her children. But that was a hard DC marriage license to get. I don't know why it took me years to get that one. But it finally,
Might be because of the timing.
yeah,
You
that's
know,
true.
stuff is not available to you. Everything in this is available within a time period. So, yeah, it could be because of that.
Because you know us, when the kids were born, I would immediately looked at that piece of paper and gone, wait, what? That doesn't
Right.
make sense.
Right. Another confession for me, I could not take endogamy.
Mm,
Brian,
that,
Brian knows how much that stuff would. I would literally be ready to be like, okay, hold on for a minute, y'all. I gotta go to the bathroom because I'm like, I need to go throw up. I need to. This is way too much for me. It is way over the top. Yeah, endogamy was a monster for me to really take in, and to find so many first cousin marriages, because I found several, and it's so many first cousin marriages. And you know oh my god, the moment that we thought we found a brother sister marriage, y'all, that
mm,
had to been that was the funniest
oh, you say
thing.
funny. Mm-mm. No, man. That was half siblings getting together. That was not. Nope.
And it was half siblings getting together. That's what it was. But because they were half siblings, they were half step siblings. They didn't share blood at all. But they were half siblings. Yeah. But when I was looking at it, I was the one that found it. I'm like always the one that find the really crazy stuff, and then I take it to Brian because
Who did
I
you
had to get.
phone first?
I phoned you first.
You did.
I phoned you first because I'm like, I know I'm not like I know I'm not seeing what I'm seeing. And y'all, I swear to God, I worked on that by myself for at least 4 hours before I was like, nope, I'm passing this on.
And
And
what
I
was my
called Brian.
reaction? My immediate reaction was nah, 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 nah. Nope, nope, nope,
So
nope,
this is
nope.
so
Not
I
happening.
remember this like it was yesterday, y'all, because it was so funny. So here was, I'm like, no, I'm not doing this. So I called Brian, and we actually got on Zoom for this. And I said, Brian, I'm gonna send you something, and I'm gonna send you a Zoom link because I think we need to get on Zoom for it. And he was like, okay. And I said, and I'm gonna send you something, and I want you to tell me what you see. I did not give him anything. I didn't tell him nothing. I said, I just need you to look at this and tell me what you see. So y'all, he's looking, he's being Brian, going through, checking stuff and everything, and then it hit him. And when it hit him, he was like this. Is that? And then he backed up, and then he looked again. Then all of a sudden he was like, no, no, I'm not seeing that. Wait a minute, wait a minute. And I was like, mm-hmm. And I was just sitting there like, yep, that is exactly what you're saying. Still didn't say anything. So then he's sitting and he's looking. And then he finally said, Donya, are they siblings? I said, you tell me, because that's my thought process. And he was like, this is crazy. I said, yeah, this can't be done. Do you guys know we could not figure that out?
Nope. Because
We
I
could.
basically said, release the Kraken, get Loretta. Get
Yeah,
Loretta.
we had to call in Loretta. We called in Loretta on that one. And mind y'all, let me tell y'all what family it was with. And this is the reason why I am the way that I am. It was the Yeldales. George Washington Yeldale married Rosella or Rosella Moten. That's who it was. And they are half step siblings to each other. But this is why I don't deal with the Yeldales, y'all. This is why.
I
That was
threw
it.
everything I had at my disposal to break that. But when Miss
Yeah.
Loretta was like, Cousins. I'm like, okay, I give up. I wave the white flag. It is what it is.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
again,
I
I
can't
don't
do
think
it.
we exaggerate. We are, you and I, your mom, my Edgefield family, we are related to ourselves.
Oh yeah, we are. We all are. But look, and Kelly said, "Oh wow, brother and sister marriage. Were they black? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. They
Oh,
were
but
black.
it's not just limited to that. Mm-mm.
It's not limited.
I got a doozy for you. This involves the infamous Randolph family of Virginia. Um, Dude's first wife, they're already second cousins. He married his second cousin. They have
Mm.
kids. She dies in childbirth. What did he do next? He didn't marry her sister. He married her mother, his former mother in law, who he is also related to. Remember, he and his first wife were second cousins through both of his wife's parents. He has kids with his former mother in law, who is now his wife. So his two sets of kids are half siblings. The first set are half aunts and uncles to the second set, and then they're cousins. Yeah,
That part.
that part.
That part. So Miss Gilliard Music, she asked you, "Are you your own grandpa?"
I should be.
We are not our own grandparents, but we are literally our own cousins. That
Yes.
that that is not a lie. That part is not a lie. Just to give you an example, my mother's father and mother are related to each other.
Hmm?
And they're related because his great grandmother is the sister to my grandmother's grandmother. Y'all, my family is so bad that my mom's parents are related, the grandparents are related, the great grandparents are related, and even some of the second great grandparents are related.
Hmm?
That you cannot. So when you hear me say things like, even if you don't match my mother via DNA, you're still her cousin because all you need is one person that shares DNA, with her and you. More than likely, the chance of her not being related to them becomes so slim that you cannot. You yeah, you yeah, you just can't. It's amazing.
And again, same county. My maternal grandmother from Edgefield, her grandparents were second cousins.
Yeah,
But when you're talking about a man like Moses Williams who had 45 kids and they all had double digit kids, at least all the ones that we found from those 45 children, you're living in a rural
right.
place. You're only faced with a handful of choices. You don't get married, you accept the fact you're going to marry a family member, or you leave. And you leave everyone
Exactly.
that you ever loved or knew behind.
Exactly. And y'all, you got to take into this consideration. Like Brian said, Moses, we actually have him set to have at least I'm not talking maximum, minimum 450 grandchildren.
Minimum.
Grandchildren.
And his
Minimum.
grandchildren were having double digit kids.
Oh my God. I mean, my mom's family is from Peter and Violet. Violet being Moses' daughter. Peter and Violet had what, 10 or 12 kids
That we found so far.
that we found so far. About, I think it's 10. I think it's 10 that we found
Mhm.
so far. Then Peter and Violet had a son named Charles. Charles had 12 children because my great grandmother is his child, is one of the 12. And then my great grandmother turned around and had 10 children. And then my grandmother turned around and had 14 children. Y'all see them numbers? And then my aunt turned around and had 9. Another aunt turned around and had 7. Their kids, 6. No, we not. Now the numbers are going down, but Still,
And
that's
moving
just
to the
one
same
of his
place.
kids.
Even when they left Edgefield, they're still going to the same places.
Yeah,
I was surrounded by extended family in DC. All the times we would come back down there to visit. No clue that they were relations.
yeah. And an Indian exposed investigation. You're right. This happens in our families more than we admit it. This happens in all families, but let's be
Yeah.
clear. This happens in all families. I don't want anybody to sit up here and look, because one of the stereotypes for African Americans is that we have a lot of kids. Y'all, this happened with the white folks too. Because Edward Settles, Big Edward, he had kids.
Patrick
He,
Henry, my ancestor, had 17. Not all of them lived to be
no,
adults, but he still had 17 kids.
he
My
had them.
Quaker
Moses
ancestor,
Williams' father had a lot of kids.
yes, Daniel Williams.
Moses Williams, yes, Daniel Williams had a lot of children.
And I'm looking at
So I
Rhonda
did
Oliver's comment about endogamy with amongst the Quakers. Yeah, Mendenhall, Bailey, and Harlan, and a duck here from Quaker families. You are correct. My Quaker ancestors had crazy numbers of kids too, anything from 11 to 20. It was
that
not
part.
common. Somehow we got stuck with that, and the Irish got stuck with that.
So I mean, don't think it's just us,
No, everybody was.
all of this stuff. Everybody was doing it. And everybody was stuck around each other. So what do you expect?
It's
You
not like
know,
when you live in the
that's one of the things that I really don't, you know, one of those stereotypes that I be like, come on now, stop playing. Y'all know y'all did the same thing. Stop lying.
Yeah. Because again, one, they were, specifically thinking of my enslaved ancestors, they were enslaved. So they didn't have a whole lot of options. And if you got enslavers who were cousins getting married, chances are the bride or the groom is bringing in more of your cousins, just
That part.
adding it into the mix. So
That part.
I used to feel shame about just the sheer volume of cousin marriages I have in my tree, but it is what it is. I get it. I understand it. I don't even fault them for it. You had limited options. You did the best you could. Now the
He
enslaved.
got to that conclusion way faster than I did.
Yeah.
Because I was not like, oh, not
Now
again.
my enslaving ancestors, I'm a little less lenient about that one because that was all about land, money, and slaves. That's why they did it.
Yeah. And then you had the ones that purposely did it so that they could stay a certain level,
Yes.
like proctors. Proctors married within
Okay, so what
because
Don was talking about are very, very, very fair complected to even white passing black people who specifically married similar types of people from a very limited pool because there weren't that many families that were white presenting like that.
Loretta, we still got to get Loretta on the show about the proctors because she literally found where there were court records that they could marry each other. She has the court records.
Hmm?
And, she was like, this is one where you could definitely probably find a sibling marrying a brother.
Yep.
And listen, I am, my mouth, I still have to deal with that. If I had to say that there was one confession that I really, even though I've been doing this for 30 years, there's one thing that I just almost cannot get over. It is this. I mean, I'm at a point in my life now where when I see it, I can accept it. But sometimes I'm be like, man.
Yes, Lacrissa, you
Yes,
are
Kelly,
correct.
lots of sex. Yes, they had lots of sex.
I was gonna say yes, Lacrissa. I'm knocking on just under 22,500 DNA matches on Ancestry alone.
Oh, my mom is at 40, I think 40,000.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 40 or 50,000.
But still, that's not even the worst kind of. I'm not in my immediate line, thank goodness. But I've got the Fugit family, the Blue people of Kentucky,
Mm.
Appalachians. Yeah, that was some crazy stuff. I think that was the first time I had come across actual that level of interfamily unions. That was the first time I'd come across it. So and nothing has ever reached quite that level anywhere else in my tree. So I think I kind of got broken on that one.
What Brian is talking about, this particular family is a mountain family, and basically they're called the blue people because their skin tone is blue.
They're blue. They're
And their skin tone is blue. They have a tint. They have a blue tint in their skin. And it's like that because they were marrying each other so much and so close. So that's who they are. Fugate. You want to look them up? Look them up. Google it
yeah.
because they do exist.
I'm going to posit that one of the most common sources of genealogical mistakes is going to be the 1870 census, because why no one thought to actually add how people were related in a household. I don't know. That question would have been very helpful. So when you're looking at the 1870 census, we really have, and I have made mistakes with that, but trying to use critical thinking and logic to understand how everyone in a household was related to each other. I think most of the time we get it right, whether someone was a child of the householders. But through research and DNA, it's come out every once in a while, oh, not their child, their grandchild, or a niece, or there was still a family member, just not a child.
Right, right. Correct. And to answer, to go to Beverly Benton real quick, she said, "My Martin, Settles, and Deans married Moses' descendants." That's Edgefield. Honey, your Martin, Settles, and Deans are Moses' descendants. They were literally marrying their own cousins, especially the Settles. They came directly from him, from his. I mean, they're on the top rung because Martha Ann was having children with Edward Settles. So that's the top rung. It's nothing. So they were already related to each other. If you didn't know, now you do.
Yep.
That's them.
I'm going to say there's two other sources of errors, and this is not just for Black genealogists. This is for genealogists, especially if you're working in the colonial era. So that's immediately limiting it to the east of the Mississippi. This is one. Adventures of Person. This has been a very useful book series for me. I'm going to say that I probably referenced it maybe 200 times. 85% of it has been correct, but that 15% that was wrong, it was wrong. This book would have fouled up my Holloway line if I had followed it. Because I had already taken my DNA test by that point, and my DNA was contradicting a lot of the Holloway information, specifically for men called Robert Holloway and William Holloway. There were a lot of men with those names in the same region of Virginia, and they just got mixed up. It happens. But I was thankful that I was comparing my DNA results and DNA matches with what this book was saying to actually be able to correctly work out that Holloway line, because that was a nightmare. So this is them. So books like these, use them as a reference, but do not copy name for name what they have in there. There is one book that I do want to give a shout out to. It's the the Quaker Harlan family lineage book. I can't remember the name. I think his name is Alpheus Harlan, who put that together. That man used sources and citations, and that's the only reason why I give that particular family lineage book a shout out. If you come across a family lineage book that does not source or cite information like marriages, baptisms, deaths, children's, use it as a basis to do your research, to try to find the papers to corroborate that. But other than that, run as quickly as you can, which leads me to old DAR applications. And Donya, you can probably speak more on this than I can. I don't know at what point DAR started asking for proof of what was in those forms, But again, I got caught out because I thought this is the DAR. They don't just give memberships willy nilly, but I was relying on applications that were done in the 20s, 30s, and the 40s. And since learned, they weren't really vetted. So if you are researching a person that you believe was a patriot and you're relying on that information to substantiate information in your tree, you must go to the DAR website and type that person's name into their database. If a little red warning, maybe you remember what the warning says, Donya. All I remember is it turns up in red. It's saying it's unverified and you can't trust that that information is correct.
So I'm gonna speak a little bit on more on depth on this one. They just started. You said you didn't know when. They were just starting when I was working there,
Okay.
and they had to, because number one, they were working on. You had a lot of African Americans who were applying, and they had to make sure that they, you know, that's I guess they wanted to cover the base. Um, I figured it out because a lot, a lot of people think that, and I don't know if I'm putting something out here, and if it is, oh well. But a lot of people believe that who not Paul Revere, but the other person there was another person that went the opposite way and doing the same
Oh,
type of.
that's the name that I should know. That's the black. That was the African American gentleman, wasn't
Yeah, well, they thought he was white.
it?
That's when I figured it out. I cannot think of his name. I promised myself I would never forget his name. And now I can't think of his name. But there are people that are listed as descendants of him, and they're white. And they thought he was white. And he must have been very, very fair complected, because he is listed in at least one or two census records as a white man. But as he got older, apparently he got darker, and they started listing him as a mulatto. And there are women who say that they are descendants of this man, but they are pure white women, or as pure as during that time when they did it. These were women that were light enough that could join. This was during a time where black women were not able to join. So these were white women who signed under that man's name, and they are in there under that man's name. So that part.
So this also includes .dar applications that are on Ancestry, because a lot of those are the old ones. They are
Yep.
unverified.
Yep.
Unverified. I hate if this is coming as news to you. Even I hate to be the bearer of bad news on this one, but please, and the DAR database is free to check. You just go to their website, go to the database, type in what you know about that qualifying ancestor, and see what they tell you.
I mean, and again, everything that we saying, y'all, we verify, we back up everything we've ever gone through. So as you could tell, every time we say something, we tell you where to go, because that's what's going on. I mean, it's just that simple. It is. These are confessions that we just. Oh my God, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sharon, that Harlan book is actually digitized and freely available to download on both Internet Archive and HathiTrust. And because of the way that the Harlans married, if you were a Mendenhall, a Bailey, a Duck, a West, coming out of Quaker, Pennsylvania, specifically Marlborough County, Westchester, all around there, that book will also be very helpful.
Sharon said that Peter Oots apparently lied about his Revolutionary War service. If you look him up on the DAR site, there is a red warning that he cannot be used as a qualifying ancestor. That means that yep, that's how I go. If you have that, that's because they done found something. And they're
Mhm.
slowly going through, they were going through those things when, when I was working there. So I definitely applaud them because they had so many members. And I'm like, well, what y'all gonna do when you find out that a member has been put in under someone who's not DA, who actually wasn't a revolutionary person, or even worse, just didn't do nothing at all.
Mhm. Or just have the same
They're
name,
not removing them.
or just have the same name as someone else who was a patriot.
Right. That part, because that is, yeah, yeah. And Sharon said that Peter Oots has a huge monument in Edgefield County extolling the 3 times he was wounded fighting in the American Revolution. And Edgefield ain't gonna take it down. Let me tell you right now. No, they ain't gonna take that down.
Yeah.
You can believe that.
And also, sadly, I have to say, Find a Grave also has incorrect information because Donya and Sharon, you both know I've spent the last 12 years trying to have something amended, corrected, or just deleted about Ezekiel Harlan III and his wife Hannah Oburn. Why my Harlan cousins, specifically my European descended Harlan cousins from Edgefield, insist that that couple was German and their end of line ancestors in Germany in like 1739. German records are amazing, by the way. Um, when y'all know that they were Quaker and they started off as Harlan. And you can
Mm,
easily get back, legitimately get, because Quakers kept records like Virginia.
right,
I've never
right,
known people so administratively correct and good. You can easily go back to Yorkshire 1500 just to the
right,
Quaker records alone.
right.
But
And I want to respond to Betty Jenkins. It's not Crispus Attucks. Crispus Attucks was the first person to die in the Revolutionary War, and if I'm not mistaken.
that's right. Yeah.
But it's not. He wasn't the one that ran and let everybody know. There was another black
Hmm.
man who actually went. Uh, Paul Revere went one way, and he went the other way, letting everybody know that the British were coming. So that's basically how that happened. But Crispus was the first one to die in the war, and he was black, and they knew he was black. These people responded to this research as if it was a white man, period. And they're under him as a white man. So there's that part.
I'm trying to think of other mistakes that we've seen, we've done, we've come across. I've already kind of touched on children who are mistakenly enumerated as the householder's children. Um,
No, we haven't touched on that, have?
okay, no, actually, I guess we haven't.
No, we
So,
haven't touched on that.
there are times when there's a household full of kids and they're all described as the head of household's children. Now, sometimes DNA will prove that one or two of them not the case for whatever reason, but largely because of fostering. Again, it's how families back in the day rolled. Uh, Sibling died, you took in the number of kids that you could afford to comfortably house, feed, look after, and all of those things. And we've been caught out on things like that, but we got caught out because we were going by what it literally said on the census. If you tell me someone's so and
Mhm.
so's child, I'm going to believe you that that's their child.
Right. Right. Yeah, I had that same issue. My mom's first cousin's children are listed as rumors on the
Mm,
1930 census, I think it is.
yep.
And but they were his kids. They were listed under him, but they were his children. But you can see where they tried to make the change, or make the kind of make the correct the mistake. I'm sorry. Because they put down originally, they put them down as his children, but then they drew lines in it and they said rumor. Now, why was this a mistake? Because if you put daughter beside them, because people are related to the head of the household, it's going to look like that girl is actually the head of household's child, not the rumor that was already in the house, and they were listed under him. So they just put they marked it off and put rumor, 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 rumor. But you could see where at first they were listed as daughter or son, and then it went from there. So yeah, we had to definitely go through that. But because of that mistake, when you look at the 1930 census, only he pops up. And so, when you go to Ancestry, and Ancestry has that front page, and before you even go and look at the original census, it just says his name. You don't even know that there are kids listed under him unless you look at it. So, rule number one, always look at the original form. Always. If you haven't, you need to do that. Also, always read everything at the top, what those columns stand for. Because when I tell y'all, I was finding something new every single time when I did that, because I didn't read them at the beginning when I first started.
Mm.
Oh my God. So it's just like little tiny things that you need to do to make it work better and easier for you.
Which quickly reminds me, if you have an ancestor that the 1910 or the 1920, I believe it's the 1920 census would have touched on, you first of all, we should all have the practice of going through our trees and spring cleaning them to look for any mistakes, any errors. Sometimes, as Donnie was saying, there are new records that pop up that answer those questions. That actually is like,
Hmm.
oh, okay, different parents are named on this death certificate than what we've been told. But the
Hmm.
1910 and the 1920 censuses, in my opinion, were the best censuses this country ever produced. And I wish
1900 and 1910,
that was
not
it,
1920.
1900 and 1910.
Yeah.
Um, asked the best question. These questions should still be asked today. So, for instance, it will ask what I think the 1900 census asked how many times a couple had been married, and what age they got married at. The other one, the 1910, was how many years had they been married. Those are two.
The the
Go ahead.
the 1900, it didn't ask that. It actually made sure what it did was the 1900 let you know what month everybody was born and the year. Then it asked about you being married, but if you were married more than once, that's when they started putting the one and the two
Yeah,
up there.
that's what I'm saying. How
So
many? Yeah,
yeah, so they would put it beside their name, and that didn't necessarily ask the question. They would just put one or two
but
beside.
the other one of the two asked either at what age they got married or how many years
Yes,
they've been married.
yes, they put the year and the age, and then to me, the children, asking how many children the mother had
Right, and how
and
many were
how
living.
many was still living. That is just one of the most important things, because I can honestly tell you that helped me to know, in because that's when we found out that my great grandparents had another child, but we didn't know who she was, because we started to see the effect of not having the 1890 census, because she was born after the 1880 but before the 1890. So she would have shown up in the 1890 census, but by the time the 1900 census came around, she was already married and out the house. So it kept giving this number. Oh, she has six children, but five are living, but only four was in the household.
Yeah.
We like, oh, what? Okay, what's
Because
going
again,
on?
for a large part of the country, this is before death records were even mandated. So Donnie and I, many of us had, especially for this time period, there are multiple marriages. Sometimes we are not confident about who the correct mother for a small group of children would be. So as Donnie was saying, knowing that Susie only, that she only had three kids by, I don't know, 1900, but this was clearly, Mr. Jones's second marriage, we can go, oh, okay, well, those are her three kids, and all the other ones would be either from a previous wife or previous wives. Um,
Right, right, correct. And I just want to thank Michelle and Beverly, because this is his name, Wentworth Cheswell. That's
thank
him.
you.
Thank you, ladies. That's him. That's the one. And he literally, I guess for a little while, he could pass for white. I don't know. But he probably wasn't even passing. That's the other thing. Because let's be clear. During the American Revolution, although there were enslaved people, there were still free people of color during that time too. And he might have been one of those, but he was might have been just a real light bright, real close to, then, yeah. So,
Mhm.
but let's get to these questions. I want to try to get to some of these
Yep.
questions before we, go out. Did you have any more, Brian?
No, no, I didn't. Yeah, I didn't realize we have about 10 minutes left.
Right. So, okay, I have them starred. And at the very top is Miss Gilead Music. She says, I have a side of my family that, let me put it up. She said, I have a side of my family that intermarried with each other, but not to the point of endogamy. But I am having a hard time separating them so I can find my 3 times great grandfather and slash great grandmother. Help. You want to go first? Because
I'll let
I
you
can
go.
say something real quick.
No, I'll let you go first.
Girl, they probably related and you just ain't found it yet. that's the whole thing. And that's probably why you're having the hard time because they are related and it just hasn't come up. And you haven't found that niche, that spot that brings them there. And, because you haven't found that yet, that's what's causing your issue. And with all things, if you don't find something, it's always a name issue at the very beginning anyway. You got to find the name changed, the name. It's always has something to do with that name. Or I've not come across a moment when it
Mhm.
hasn't. So that's my answer.
My answer is that this is a tricky one. I would have to work this out on paper and largely using Ancestry's shared matches. And I would literally go for that. I would try to filter for just, for that overall family group and literally with columns, diagrams, figuring out who my closest matches out of that whole kind of interrelated group are and
Yeah,
start.
and then look at those close matches, and when you look at them and you start seeing maternal and paternal on both of them, it lets you know that they were related. So we in the same boat.
So I'm not glossing over it. It is a Herculean task to do. I've had to do it more than once. Um, but yeah, it's painstaking, but it is doable. Like I said, I'm old school. I'm analog. I would, for me, if this was my research question, I would be working it out on paper, but essentially relying on Ancestry shared matches.
Right. So Sharon Rose said, my confession is that I had to unhook an ancestor from the wrong parents this week. She's saying this week. So y'all, you all know that Sharon is actually one of the Genealogy Adventures researchers. So with that being said, this is a Genealogy Adventure researcher that's coming straight out. We're still finding these issues. So it's not, and all of us have been doing this for years and years. So do not feel bad if you come across something now, even as a long time person of doing this type of stuff, and you're still finding mistakes that you made or something that you're like, oh my God, I just did this and now I gotta remove and blah blah blah. Like,
Mhm.
because of that, do y'all know how many trees I have on Ancestry? I refuse to add people to my tree unless I know how they are related because of that exact reason. I'm not deleting all these folks no more. I'm not going through all that. I'm not doing it. You can't make me. So, yeah, it's that. Kelly, she said, my confession is my fifth great grandfather, Luke, might be actually my fifth great grand uncle, but still working through it. Naming patterns are a mess. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, we've discussed that. A lot of sex. Remember, that's what you said.
I am not going to name names. Again, this is on a Virginia enslaving family line. DNA proved that a gentleman's father was creeping in on his wife.
Mm,
And that the person that I thought was my direct ancestor wasn't. It was his father.
wow.
Yeah.
Here's another one from Sharon. She said, one of my ancestors was a Baptist preacher who ministered to the troops in the American Revolution. That had to have been fascinating to find.
Hmm.
That had to have been something else. Then, oh, wow. She said, he also brought up the land of his Tory neighbors at fire sale prices after they fled the country. And he was an enslaver. A contemporary account said he was hot tempered. Wow. So he was the preacher, but he's still, that's Edgefield. I bet you they were in Edgefield. Oh my goodness. I love us. I swear.
Wait a minute, I lost it. I'm pretty sure someone said that their mother and father's side are like really related. Oh, here it is.
Oh,
My whole family is related on mom and dad's side.
yeah, that's us.
My
Yeah.
mom's side of the family is my mother and father are indeed distantly related. Their common ancestors, like early 1700s, late 1600s in Virginia.
LaCrista says she struggles with multiple marriages with children, carrying the headphone, um, how carrying headphone. I don't think that was supposed to say
Oh,
that, but
this is head of
oh,
households.
okay, carrying the head of household last name, but may not be a biological child. Yeah, those are big. Those are big. So yeah, I mean,
Um,
we have.
Maria Ayawa Evans, about that
Uh,
one. No, my second great grandmother was enslaved, born 1849, Missouri. Her mother, born about 18. Those dates aren't really lining up, but about 1835. Was not listed in the 1850 slave schedule. I've never been able to find info on what happened to her. If you know who enslaved them, I highly recommend that you go to Family Search, type in the name of the enslaver in the name bit. In the keyword bit, type in their names. You both women, your both of your ancestors' name plus Negro, slave, and deed. Maybe her mother was sold away, but that would be one way to find it. But you would have to know who the enslaver's name was.
yeah. Um, Ray said, I always get confused, and I feel like the 1890 census does confuse me. I really enjoy you guys' podcast. Thank you so
So
very much. The 1890 census doesn't exist. If I think that's if that's what you're talking about, the fact that you don't have it becomes confusing. But it does become confusing. You have to
Mhm.
remember that people were born between 1880 and 1890. So by the time 1890 comes around, that's 20 years. They're probably
Oh, you mean
not.
1900?
I mean, but I said 1900, didn't I? Oh,
Mm.
I'm sorry. By the 1900 comes around, it's 20 years between the two. So there's a big possibility they're not in the household, especially if it's young kids, especially if they were born in like 1881, like right after 1880 census was taken. Oh my God. And if
We
you guys didn't know this, the 1880 census also gives birth months.
yeah.
If y'all didn't catch that or didn't pay that any attention, the 1880 census gives a birth month only if your child was born within the year that that census was taken. That's it's not right next to their name, but it's like a little ways over, and like close to the end of the actual report. So that is helpful too, because sometimes there is a month that's listed there for some kids.
Yeah. But I agree. If it's specifically the missing 1890 census is a nightmare of trying to trace your female ancestors who were born
Yes.
in the earlier part of the 1880s. Because as Donya said, by the time the 1900 census rolled around, they were probably married.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be able to find them under their maiden name. I'm going to go back to the previous comment that I made about the enslavement in Missouri. Um, I would still try to find records for that enslaver using family searches, full text search. I'm not overly familiar with Missouri. That's not one of the places where I've done any depth of research. I don't know if they had death registries like urban areas of Tennessee or the state of Virginia, which they started their death registries in the 1850s, and that includes the deaths of enslaved people, as
Mm,
well as the births of enslaved people.
yes.
You may take a look to see if Missouri started recording deaths and births, even for enslaved people, at an earlier period.
Yes. And then look, Chris, you said you have a branch where some of the children have different last names, but they ended up being the head of the household's child. It's so confusing. Baby, that's because somebody had a different daddy. And, and in most instances, and you just did, especially when you go by that oral history and they're constantly telling you, oh, everybody is under this one person. And then you start seeing these name changes and somebody ain't there, or even worse, you read an obituary and some child pops up out the blue and you don't know who they are and they have a different last name. That's a different daddy. Y'all, I got one person who has 3 birth certificates on Ancestry, 3 or 4. No, he has 4. He has 4 birth certificates on Ancestry. One lists who his daddy is. One, they took the whole block out, just whited the whole block out of who his daddy was supposed to be. An amendment saying what his name actually is, and then finally noting who his father is, the true father. This man went through it to find out, and he died in the 1960s, I think. But he went through it to find out who his actual father was. He found out. And when I tell you it's nasty, because I swear it looked like it was a man who had sex with an 11-year-old girl and she had him. That's one of the ones that, like, you always have the ones that like takes you to the hills and you like, if I find them, I'm gonna beat them up myself. That kind of thing. And that's what that one did. But yeah, Lucretia, you need to do some more diggings. See if you can sneak somebody a DNA test. No, no, don't do that. Don't do that.
But again, we've seen some of that, but it's much more straightforward in our own research, specifically if it was a woman's second marriage. So having children by her first husband. Actually, I think I can't think of the name. The most extreme case, her 2 older daughters had married before their mother married. Their husbands died, so they're in the household of their stepfather, their mother, with their kids. So, like I said, people had a household that were all closely related to each other, but different last names.
Right. Exactly. So we are almost at the end, and I hope this helped some people. Even if it's just to see that people who have 30 plus years or more experience still go through the same things that brand new people were going through, we still go through them. Even
Mhm.
if that's the only thing that this did, I hope that it helped, you know. But
Yeah.
this was fun, we need to do real talk more often, Brian.
And hopefully you get a sense that we are part of a group of researchers. If I ever have if I have a difficult, hardcore question, if something's not making sense to me, and it happens, I will pick up the phone to Donya, to Sharon, to Yolanda, or we'll just say, let's get on Zoom. Let's just
Yep.
all get on Zoom and let's just work from it from top to bottom.
Yep. So, with that being said, we'd like to thank you guys for joining us today. We will be on next week. We do have the guests for the show that we want to do for you guys. I just got to set the date for them. And we're also going to feature one of our favorite guests that normally comes up here, and that is Mr. Collier himself, Mr. Melvin Collier. If you haven't purchased his book, you need to do so, because we will be talking with him soon about his book.
Yes, we will.
So, with that being said, I'm Donya.
I'm Brian, and we will see you in all the usual places next week at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you like this show, please like, share, do all the good things.
All right, bye.
Bye.